talking to God, even though I was reading his word, even though I was spending hours in his word, it wasn't the same. Don't get me wrong, spend time in his word, but it wasn't the same as actually speaking to him and loving on him and being able to feel him sitting next to me, being able to feel him around me. And then it wasn't until I went and got a chair and put it in my room. Actually, Jarek went and got me a chair and put it in my room. He's like, all right, this is what you need to do. And I started having those intimate moments again. And this last week, just real quick, I want to share this because it was amazing, is I was sitting there just talking to God and, you know, God, what can I do for you? What do you need from me in this time? You know, because we're locked in our houses. We aren't out reaching people like we were. Mm-hmm. What do you need from me? What can I do to help you right now? How do I help you reach people? And my eyes were shut and I was in my dark room and I just had my little lamp on and I was literally crying as I'm talking to him. And he said, I could see him with my eyes shut. I could see him in the spirit in front of me. And he's leaning down with his hands out and he said, just love me. And that was like a dagger to my heart because I do love him and he knows I love him. That's not a question. But that's where he was saying it's not, he wasn't saying, I don't think you love me or I wonder if you love me. I just want you to sit with me and love me. That's all I want right now. Mm-hmm. And so I literally burst into tears and sat there and just loved him until I couldn't anymore, until life happens and kids and, but that's what he's saying. That's what I feel like that's where we're at right now, is he has eliminated our distractions. He has eliminated all these idols, sports and just different things, boating and beaches and everything has been taken from us. Mm-hmm. And what, he didn't say, I'm going to create this virus so that I can take this stuff from you so you can spend time with me. But he is going to use the bad for good. Right. And this is the good that's going to come out of it, is he wants us, he's wooing us. He is saying, come back to your first love. Come back and just sit with me. Right. Love with me. Just feel the love I'm going to pour over you, the peace I'm going to pour over you. Mm-hmm. The revelation I'm going to give you through that. It's so important right now that we get back to our first love, and that's what it is, and that's what we're talking about, is how do we get back there? What do we need to do? And it's, it's not condemnation at all, because we all do it. We all think, we're where we're supposed to be. And that we're spending the time. And, I was walking around and doing laundry and cleaning the house, and I'd have my podcast on, and I was always listening to the word, but I wasn't slowing down enough to actually sit in his presence. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge difference, huge difference. And so I really feel like that's where he's leading us. And, even just this morning, when I was in my secret place talking to him, and he said to me, I'm drawing those that are mine closer, and I'm preparing my harvest. There is an amazing revival that's going on right now. Yes. People are being saved by the thousands, and that's incredible. Only God can do that, where we can't even get out to go do anything, and God is using the lens of a camera to save thousands. Yeah. That's amazing. Very amazing. But at the same time, he's also drawing us closer and wooing us and saying, spend that time with me. Let me develop you to the full capacity of my love.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like Jody said, this is not a condemning word. This is the Lord entreating us. This is an intentional thing from the Lord. This is him wooing us with the words he gave me, engaging with us. To entreat someone, I looked it up, means to ask. Mm-hmm. So he's asking us, will you come? Mm-hmm. And I have to believe that every single person that would watch this would say, yes, I will come. But like Jody said, how do we come? I understand. I've been there. Jody has young kids. Mm-hmm. I had young kids. Having a husband and a son live with you can be distracting too. But something I wrote down here, it's not, nobody, I believe, is deliberately distancing themselves from God. Yeah. We have distanced ourselves from others. This is the closest I've been to an outside person. Which is kind of nice, but it's really hard because I just want to devour her and I can't. Though I've had my daughter-in-law, my grandkids by the water, but not by them. I'm not by them. But anyway, so if God were to come to you and say, do you love me? You would say, yes, Lord, I do. And he would know that you did. But how much do we love him?
Yeah.
Are we in love with him? When you're in love with somebody, you want to spend as much time as you possibly can with them.
Yeah.
You look forward, like Jody was saying today, you look forward to going in there and sitting with God.
Yeah.
And you know what I have found in this time that we've had with this going on? Yes, I'm in the secret place, and yes, I read my word and all the things we talked about. But I have found that when I don't even, I mean, my Bible's usually already in there in my closet, but when I just take myself in there, like I've been doing, practicing this, because it's a practice, it's a discipline. When I just go into my prayer closet, just with myself, I'm not carrying my books or getting my phone ready to listen or even turn music on. I just come in. I felt it this morning. I'm sorry. I just walked in. I sat down and I said, Lord, you're here. I know you are.
Yeah.
You're here. And I just sat there. And Jody was going to be here soon. And I wanted to pray about that or whatever, but I just sat there and I just started to cry. I didn't even really pray. I mean, I prayed about a couple things, but just coming in there and just sitting. You know what? I'm going to get close. It's okay to just sit there and be still. It is okay to not pray. This morning, I just kept saying, Jesus, Jesus. It's okay to do nothing, but just sit there with him. And you know what? He will speak. And if there's those of you who have not heard him speak, or you've tried coming into that intimate place, well, I haven't heard him and I'm just giving up, whatever.
Don't give up.
Don't give up, because like we talked about today, he speaks when we're listening. He's speaking all the time, but when we're listening, then we hear. So it's kind of like I was telling Jody, it's like somebody, the radio's on, but then, and it's going, but you can't hear it. So you turn it up. And God just turns up the volume of his voice when he knows that we're really listening. And it's so much easier to listen if you don't have all that other stuff around. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be every time, but I would encourage you, for those of you that have a designated secret place, and you don't have to have one. I mean, you could just go sit anywhere and have a secret place with God. But the Lord has really, and I told Jody, it might just be for me, but maybe it's for some others out there too. For me, like today, when I went into my prayer closet, I have a chair in there. I left the door open because there was nobody home. Well, Shane was home, but he was in the other side of the house. And the door was still open, and I heard the Lord say, shut the door. In other words, he needed me to physically shut that door and pretty much not lock myself in, but close myself in. Because like I told you, if I see anything on the outside world, even if it's just the other side of the hall, my cousin's closet, I'm not really as bad as I make myself sound. But I will get distracted.
Yeah.
But it was just an emphasis on the fact that he's saying, I want you to practice what I'm saying, because there is a benefit and there is a reward in this. And I wanted to share, if I could, just briefly about Jack Hibbs, the man we were talking about. He was talking about the 7 churches, and as I was remembering some of the things that he was sharing, which there was 5 things that he shared that I would just quickly tell you. Here it is. He was saying, he wasn't talking about the secret place or anything like that, but he was talking about what God is doing in this season on the earth. And he said that what he felt was, he said God is evaporating our distractions, which we know. But the first thing was, listen to what he's speaking. Then he said, look into what he's doing, lean into what he's doing, and let what God is doing, let what God is working on be done. And when I was thinking about the leaning in, it made me think of the disciple, John, who leaned in to Jesus' breast. And Jesus talks about how much he loved him. Now, Jesus doesn't play favorites. But I think the reason that love was so strong with him is because John was the only one that leaned in to him and laid his chest on his breast. And it was an intimate time with his Savior. And that's what God is asking us to do. You know, you can go sit in your secret place like the other disciples were, and they were sitting there with Jesus, but they didn't lean into him.
Yeah.
And they missed out on that amazing, intimate love between them, the Lord and them. So I had a question that the Lord, you know me with my questions. Excuse me. And I heard the Lord say this, you know, and I put it as a question to you and for all of us. If Jesus wrote you a letter, just like he wrote those letters to the 7 churches in the first 3 chapters of Revelation, if Jesus wrote you a letter and he wrote to you what he wanted to praise you about, but he also wrote to you what he wanted to correct you in, what would it be? Now, when he wrote those letters to the 7 churches, to the angels of the 7 churches, he started out and said, I see that you do this, I love that you do this, but I have this one thing against you. And he told them what it was. And I would ask that you would go read those 3 chapters, because there's promises in there for us, the church today, that talks about if you overcome, if you persevere, this will be what you will gain. I don't have that memorized, go read it. So I'm posing this question to you. If Jesus was to write you a letter and praise you, what would he say? If he was to add to that letter a correction to you, I have this one thing against you, what would he say? And what would our response be if he showed us, and I believe he